Hey, I've had a few people request kind of a walk-through and walk-around on the Daihatsu Hijet mini truck. I was supposed to do it this weekend, but I just didn't have a chance. So I'll kind of do a kind of like a dealership showroom type of thing, I guess. Most of the stuff you see on this is added on aftermarket: mirrors, cab lights, front push bar. Wheels are different. The bed sides on all of them flop down. Even all the other brands of trucks, they're all the same. They have the bed sides will fold down, as will the tailgate. Obviously, the tailgate, and you can remove these. There's a single 10mm screw there, bolt. You take that out, and then you can slide it on the pins out and remove the whole bed sides. Takes about 5 minutes. It's not a long job whatsoever. They do not come stock with a rear bumper. Underneath mounted spare tire. Trying to think what to tell you about this thing. On the Daihatsu, the engine is mid-mounted, so it's underneath the bed in the back. That's the air cleaner you're looking there. So it's accessed through under the seat for the radiator and windshield wiper fluid and stuff. And then there's a hatch in the bed of the truck. You pull some bolts off and get to the top of the engine, the carb and everything. You can see there's the exhaust. Transmission back there, vacuum lines to switch the into four-wheel drive. Fuel lines. Engine's mounted in a cradle, isolated with rubber bushings all the way around. So now we're looking at the front. Past the air filter, you can see the alternator, and up into one of the seats I've got lifted up. These aren't the stock seats, but the seats pop up, and that's where you access. You have to kind of lift the seat forward and up to get under there. So there's the top of the radiator. You can see the alternator there. Dipstick tube on the front of the oil pan. Engine specs in Japanese. Front differential actuator there, that round looking thing. That's the vacuum operated differential actuator to lock the front differential in when you put in four-wheel drive. And on this side, on the passenger side under the seat, you've got the windshield washer fluid, ignition coil, oil cap for filling the oil, and not much else under there. Main fuse and stuff is fusible link is down under there, and the jack you can see stored there. Oh, sorry, right there. And behind the seat is the jack handle. That's stored on it. And the tools are in the glove box. So interior-wise, most of them are going to be 5-speed or 4-speed standard. You've got obviously your shifter here, and this is the four-wheel drive lever. You can put it into, you've got high, neutral, and low range. When you're in high range, you can be either 2- or 4-wheel drive by just pushing the button. Have to do it from a stop, though. You don't want to shift on the fly. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if you can or not. I've never heard anyone tell me you can, so I stop anyway, just in case. When you pull it up into low range, it automatically goes into 4-wheel drive. There is no 2-wheel drive in low range, so you'd always be in 2-wheel drive in low range. And obviously a parking brake. Simple controls. Turn signals are going to be on your left side instead of your right side instead of your left side. And headlight controls. And the windshield wipers on the left side, so it's a little hard to get used to. Anyone who drives them, the right-hand drive anyway, you'll end up washing your windows when you're going to turn corners and vice versa all the time. Just something you get used to doing. Anyway, I'll start it up for you.
Exploded that it might have killed people.
What the heck? Huh. Haven't started in about a week, and that's odd. It's never taken that long to start. It's pretty warm today, so maybe it's just not used to it. Anyway, under this side you can see the engine. 3 cylinders, 660 cc's. If you get one of the left-hand drive versions that were originally imported in the United States, you may get a 550 cc version. It's a little quieter. Turn the stupid stereo off too. I'm not sure what much else to tell you about them. Anyway, the access hatch for the engine is... Sorry, I got a bunch of junk in the back. The Daihatsu anyway, it's right there behind the cab. 6 bolts, pull off the access hatch, and then you can get to the carburetor, distributor, everything else. You can change the spark plugs from just underneath the truck. You don't have to actually remove the hatch to get in there. Tiny little glove box full of junk. Not much else to tell you. They're pretty basic Spartan vehicles. Some versions will have air conditioning that would be mounted down here, where I've got all this junk. You'd have an air conditioner unit mounted in here. Stock stereo is really, really shallow. It's like 2.5 inches. So putting an aftermarket deck in, you have to find something that generally the guys are putting mechless decks that have no CD player, no cassette player, because these are only about 3 inches deep, and you can modify them so they'll fit in here. From the factory, a lot of them had a box that you can see this access hatch here. It's kind of where the box mounted, and it had you get an equalizer and a cassette player in there from the factory, or CD player, but you don't see many of those around, and they're generally on the older models. But anyway, it's probably too loud for you to hear that. Anyway, again, underneath, I don't know if you can see very well in there. You got the engine and spark plug wires. Back to the distributor, vacuum advance on the distributor. We're looking from the passenger side now, just underneath the box. Batteries on the side under that cover. Again, looking straight through onto the box again at the rear differential, rear shock springs. Not too much to see, actually. We'll go into the front if you want. Pretty basic up front. No actual skid plate protection other than this plastic protector that protects the steering gear. It's the steering gear we're looking at right there with the bellows on it. Strut front suspension. You know, very, very simple setup. No power steering. Brakes are power. Oh wait, are the brakes power? No, power. Yes, brakes are power. What am I thinking? So this is it. Your bumper. This is a piece of plastic. That's it between here and the metal of the cab where your feet are behind. Not much crash protection. Not any, actually. Maybe slightly more than a motorcycle, but that's about it. So, I mean, this goes straight up behind the bumper, and like I said, there's no reinforcement bar, no nothing in the bumper. Vents like old, remember cars from the 70s, the vents that you can see actually sunlight coming through there. Those are fresh air vents for the summertime. Here's the brake master cylinder booster, vacuum line on it. Steering goes straight down between your legs. Brake fluid's actually up on the dash. And I'm trying to think of more I can tell you. There's not too much I can tell you about them. Carrying capacity, that's kind of a topic of debate. The owner's manual sometimes will state 1,000 kilograms in the back, and sometimes they'll say 350 kilograms. I've seen both. I myself have had, God, almost a ton in the back of mine, and yeah, it was a little bit slow and ponderous with a ton in the back, but it wasn't undoable. I wouldn't want to do it on highways for any length of time or anything. I don't think it would be too safe, but it will, you know, hold a ton in there and not really care too much. What else can I think of telling you? Parts are available. They're on the internet. There's lots of guys in the United States and Canada that do sell aftermarket parts, so they're not impossible to get. They're not at your corner store, obviously, but you can get them if you need them. Just requires a little bit of time and planning if you're going to do any work on your car. Always try and have some spares around, like spark plugs, air filters, oil filters and stuff. Just keep a good stock on hand and you'll never really have to worry about it. These trucks were sold stock in England and all over Europe, so ebay.uk or eBay Germany, you can find all kinds of stuff on there. They just had a different engine in them. They had the same transmission, same drivetrain, body, blah blah blah. Piaggio in Italy still makes and sells the same vehicle, same body and everything as this, just with a different engine, under license from Daihatsu. So all of the Piaggio parts, most of them will fit and bolt straight on, suspension, brakes, you name it. A lot of the interior stuff, actually the interior I think is actually identical, but they never changed body style. Daihatsu sold them the tooling for the old body style, and they kept the new body style for themselves. So yeah, I can't think of what else to really tell you about it. They're great trucks. I have never really had a problem with mine. If you don't know anything about working on vehicles or whatever, it's you know, a good way to cut your teeth on it and learn some stuff, because they're very easy to work on. You can slide under on your back without jacking anything up to work on most stuff. And you know, there's good forum support at Mini Truck Talk. Tons of people on there that know what they're talking about and can help you through almost any problem. So yeah, other than that, unless you have a specific question, that's just kind of a general walk around on it. I mean, to tell you how simple they are, this is the passenger door, and it doesn't even come with a key lock or a passenger side sun visor, because God forbid the passenger should need a sun visor. I mean, that's I guess that was an expensive option, but bare bones basic truck does what it needs to do. I have gotten as good as 50 miles per gallon on long 80-kilometer-an-hour drives. Averages about high 30s to low 40s in town. On the highway, low 30s. It doesn't really like it on the highway because you're doing 7,000 RPMs and just revving the crap out of it constantly. But doesn't seem to mind it, but the gas mileage does go down. But 80, 90 kilometer-an-hour cruising all day long, yeah, you'll get good gas mileage. Anyway, can't think of much else to tell you, so that's about it.